Hello everyone! In today's video, we're going to go over how to do the primrose stitch in crochet using US terms. In today's tutorial, I was using this Pound of Love skein by Lion Brand Yarns in the color pastel green, as well as a 4mm crochet hook and scissors in order to cut my work, though this stitch would work with any yarn and corresponding hook that you may have. We're going to go ahead and get started with a slip knot, which you can do however is easiest for you. And then once we have our slip knot, we're going to chain in a multiple of 3. So you can chain as however many you need in order to get to the length that you desired for your finished project, but you just want to make sure that you're chaining in multiples of 3. Alright, so I've just chained 27, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add 2 additional chains, and that is going to be 29 for me. So you just want to make sure that you have a multiple 3, and then you're going to add 2 onto the end. So to get started on our first row, what we're going to do is we're going to find the 3rd chain from the hook. So we have 1, 2, and 3. And into that 3rd chain, what we're going to do to start is we're going to put a single crochet. So we're going to insert our hook. We're going to pull up a loop through the chain. So now we have 2 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2. And now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And into that same chain that we just worked the single crochet, we're going to work another single crochet. So insert into that same chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Then we're going to skip the next 2 chains, 1 and 2, and into this chain here, the 3rd one that from where we just worked in, we're going to start by putting a single crochet. So insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And then just like we did for the last couple of stitches that we worked in, we're going to chain 2. And into that same chain space, we're going to work a single crochet. So we're going to continue doing this until we get to the end of the chain, but we'll do a couple more together. So we're going to skip the next 2 chains, 1, 2. And into this 3rd chain from where we were just working into, we're going to put a single crochet. Then we're going to chain 2. And into that same chain space, put a single crochet. Skipping the next 2 chains, 1 and 2, we're going to single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet into the same space. So if you want to keep doing this until we get to the end of the chain, and we can go over how to turn and start the next row together. Again, it is skip 2, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. So if you want to meet me there, we can go over how to turn our work. Alright, so you can see here that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains left. So we're going to skip the next 2 chains, 1 and 2, and into this 3rd one here, we're going to work that single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. So that's 1 single crochet, and that's the chain 2. And then in the same chain space, we're going to put the 2nd single crochet. So now we have 2 chains left, and what we're going to do is we're going to skip this first one here, and into the last one, we're going to work a half double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the last chain, pull up a loop through the chain. So now we have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And that is how we're going to end our first row. So in order to chain our work to start the second row, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we can go ahead and turn our work and get started on the second row. All right, so getting started on row 2, what we're going to do is we're going to skip these 2 stitches that are beneath us, 1 and 2. And what we have here is we have the chain 2 space that we worked in the previous row. So for this row, what we're going to do until we get to the end is we're going to be working into the chain 2 spaces and then skipping the 2 stitches that are after that. So in this chain 2 space, what we're going to do is we're going to put 3 double crochets. So we're going to yarn over, insert into the chain 2 space and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then you need 2 more double crochets into that space. So yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then the last one into that chain 2 space, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So then we have these 2 stitches that are beneath us again, and we are going to skip those and again put 3 double crochets into this chain 2 space. So that's 1 into the same space. We have our second double crochet, and into the same space we have our third double crochet. So we're going to continue doing that until we get to near the end of the row again. So we'll do a couple more together. So if you look at this from the top, you see this cluster of 3. So if you are familiar with granny squares, it may remind you of a granny square here, because a granny square of course has the cluster of 3 double crochets worked together. And that is basically what we're going to be doing for this entire row. So a couple more together. We're going to skip these next 2 stitches, and into the chain 2 space we're going to work that cluster of 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3, and 1 more that we'll do together. Skipping the next 2 stitches, we're going to put a cluster of 3 double crochets into this chain 2 space right here. 1, 2, and 3. So if you want to keep going and meet me near the end so we can go over how to end the round and again turn our work, you can go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm near what's going to be the end of my row here. So I have 1 last chain 2 space here. So we're going to once again skip the next 2 stitches and work 3 double crochets into that space. 1, 2, and 3. And then you can see right here we have this little space right next to that. And what we're going to do in this space here is we're going to end with 1 single double crochet. And then in order to turn our work, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2 and go ahead and turn. And that is row 2 completed. Getting started on row 3, what we're going to do is we're going to skip the first 2 stitches, 1 and 2, and into the 3rd stitch we're going to start by working a single crochet and then chaining 2 and then a single crochet. So this is going to be very similar to row 1, though instead of working into the chains, we're working into the stitches that are beneath us. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and then into the third one, which is always going to be the middle stitch of the cluster of 3 double crochets. We're going to start with a single crochet, chain 2, and into the same stitch another single crochet. So again, we're going to continue this pattern until we get near the end of the row. So we'll do a couple more together, skipping the next 2 stitches, working into the middle stitch of the cluster of 3. We're going to do a single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet into the same stitch. So our last one that we'll do together before we get to the end of the row, we're going to skip the next 2 chains and into the middle one again. We're going to do our single crochet, chain 2, and then a single crochet into the same stitch. So if you want to keep doing that, and I'll meet you right near the end again so we can go over how to turn our work. All right, so underneath us we have the last cluster of 3 double crochets for this round. So we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and in this one work a single crochet, chain 2, and into the same stitch a single crochet. So then right here we have 1 stitch left, and then we have the chain 3 that we did previously in order to turn. So in this space, again, we are going to end with a half double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3. And then in order to turn our work, we're going to once again chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then go ahead and turn. And that is row 3 completed. Getting started on row 4 here, and what we're going to do is basically what we did for row 2. So we're going to skip the first 2 stitches beneath us and into this chain 2 space. What we're going to do is we're going to put 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and work 3 double crochets again into the chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, skip the next 2 stitches and work 3 double crochets into the chain 2 space. 1, 2, and 3. So if you again want to meet me at the end of the row, just so we can go over once more how to end the row and turn, and then we can go ahead and work up our piece to the desired length, and I'll meet you after that in order to show you how to finish our project together. But we're going to meet at the end of the row first so we can go over how to finish this row again. All right, so we're near the end of the row. We have 1 last chain 2 space. So we're going to again work 3 double crochets into that space. 1, 2, and 3. And then what we're going to do, we have 2 stitches left here. So we're going to skip this one here. And this was actually our turning chain in order to start this row this way. So in this last one here, we're just going to put 1 double crochet. And then we're going to chain 2 in order to turn our work. So we're just going to continue the last 2 rows until we get to our desired length. So for this row, what we want to do is in the middle of each of the clusters of 3, we want to do single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And then in the next row in the chain 2 spaces, we want to put this cluster of 3 double crochets. So if you need to go back using the timestamps below, you can go ahead and do that. But if not, I'm just going to work up my project a few more rows until I get to my desired length. And then I'll meet you near the end so we can look at the texture of the stitch as well as how to end our project. I'm about to get started on what's going to be the last row of my project. But before I do that, I just wanted to take a closer look at the texture of this stitch. So you can see that there are some spaces where there's some air coming through. This stitch looks the same on either side, so if you turn it over, it's going to look the same. And I also just wanted to maybe clarify some things about each row. So my last row is going to be the cluster of 3 double crochets. So in order to turn my work, I did 3 chains, which is going to act as if it is a double crochet. And then when I finish this row as well, I'm going to end on a double crochet. So meanwhile, if you're doing the other row where you're doing the single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, you're going to chain 2 to turn, and that's going to act as if it is a half double crochet. And for those rows, you're going to end on a half double crochet. So just to make it even for each row, if you are doing the 3 double crochet, you are starting with a chain 3, ending with a double crochet. And if you're doing the single, chain 2, single, you're starting with a chain 2, and then you're ending with a half double crochet. So I've already chained 3 in order to turn my work, and I'm just going to end by putting 3 double crochets into each of the chain 2 spaces until I get near the end. So we'll just do a couple together. So regardless of what row you're doing, you'll notice that this stitch has a pattern where you're skipping 2 stitches and then working whatever one you're working. So for this one, we're skipping 2 stitches and then working the 3 double crochets. But for the previous row, we skipped 2 stitches and then we worked the single, chain 2, single. So no matter what row you're working on, the pattern always has a skip 2 stitches until you get to the end, in which you're going to end up skipping 1 for either row. So if you once again want to meet me near the end, then we can go over how to finish our project together. Alright, so we're at our last chain 2 space for this last row here. So we're going to put those 3 double crochets in that chain 2 space. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to skip this stitch beneath us, and into this space here, we're going to end with a double crochet. And then we're going to chain 1, go ahead and grab our scissors and cut off, pull our hook up, and pull tight. And you can knot there if you want to make sure that it is more secure. So the only thing we have left to do for this project is we would need to weave in this end, which is where we just tied off, as well as this end here, which is the excess from the slip knot that we did in order to start our project. But this is our finished project for the Primrose stitch. Please let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions or if there are any stitches or tutorials that you'd like to see in a future video. Thank you.